Welcome to Cosmic Comics, Games and Collectibles, your zen of geekism. We carry comics old and new, magazines, toys, games like Pokemon, Magic, D&D. Want Godzilla, Ultraman, Star Trek, Ninja Turtles, Funko Pops? You'll find it all here. Shop our Cosmic Sound Room and pick up a record or two. Enjoy our Comic Coffee Lounge with a cup of Sasquatch coffee while geeking out over a super cool movie on our big screen. Cosmic Comic, Games and Collectibles. Superman loves us, and so will you.
Hi everyone, Jason Hunt here, inviting you to join us every Saturday morning for news. The week's headlines in science fiction, fantasy, horror, comic books, video games, plus Comic-Con updates and the weather, and the occasional interview along the way. We call it Good Morning Multiverse. We hope you join us every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 Central, right here on Sci-Fi for Me TV.
And good evening, everybody. I am RJ Carter, Senior Managing Editor here at CriticalBlast.com, Chief Envelope Licker for Critical Blast Logistics, myopic proofreader for Critical Blast Publishing, and I will answer the phones and help you with your data problems on your campaigns through Critical Blast Consulting. As of today, this podcast is still on the air. David Zaslav has not yet achieved the goal of taking us down. We still stand. We are still here. And he's working on it. He's working on it because I'm getting some serious lag on the video of just myself looking at myself. So Zaslav, get out of our stream, dude. You're cramping our style. This is the open topic night. This is where we just kind of get together and shoot the breeze about what's been going on in comics and pop culture over the past week. And with us, we have our usual peanut gallery, James Lee. How you doing, James?
I'm doing great, but actually you did freeze while you were talking there just for a minute.
I'm
not telling us, slow down. I mean, you actually froze.
Wow, he's on to us. He's on to us.
But hey, I would love to have Zaslav on here.
I would love it too.
I really would. I actually got to see the board meeting.
Ooh, he has a Twitter and he never uses it. Smart man.
But I mean, no, I actually saw the actual board meeting with the guys, the creditors, so I know what happened.
Oh boy. Well, we'll have to talk about that. Mike, welcome
to the show, everybody.
You've had a big week over at the Mike stand, not just with the niche news, but with your comic retrospective this past Friday.
Right. We actually were starting our coverage of April of 1939 with DC, and of course I covered the first appearances of Batman of the Golden Age Red Tornado Ma Hunkel, as well as the first published appearance of Sandman, of the original Sandman of Wesley Dodds. Now this, of course, not to be confused with Marvel Comics Spider-Man villain Sandman. We're talking about, as I said, Wesley Dodds here.
Or confused with the Sandman who's currently being adapted to Netflix, which is something else we'll talk about sometime later tonight, I'm sure, because everybody else is, so why not? Chris.
Good evening.
Dude, are you just kind of like taking it easy now and doing nothing because, Trolls Exposed is out? And
no, we actually released the Great Cyclopean 4 on Hero Shack last week, but we haven't done any promotion for it yet. It's a direct to
obviously.
the website. Yeah, we didn't do a Kickstarter, mostly because I'm jumping right into another top secret project called Mangai Yoshokin.
No longer so top secret.
Yeah, it's so top secret. I just tossed the title around, but I've done some test pages over the last few days, and that's been the focus, really. I mean, other than the convention last week, we don't have another show planned until October 1st. So I have a lot of time to get a book ready.
RJ and Chris, you guys, shall I do it, or do you guys want to plug a couple other things that you guys will be doing in the coming weeks?
I have no idea what I'm going to be doing in the next coming weeks.
The 12th and the 26th, RJ, and
wow.
Yeah, Chris, in your case, you and Diane on the 19th. That maybe ring.
Yeah, I haven't talked to my management, but if that's what she agreed to,
I hope she would have talked to you by now.
Mike has hired us to be voice actors for the
voice actors co-host for the. Yes, I guess I'll just come out, and I figured I want to give you guys a chance to plug yourselves there, but yeah. So
Shoot,
what
I
I've been doing,
remember to plug my own books.
Yeah, I had a situation where my regular co-host ended up, he felt the need to step down, so I've been doing a thing of rotating co-hosts, and RJ and Chris and Diane and Rick Piper have all volunteered to do that. Had Rick on with me, of course, Friday night, and then RJ will be on this Friday, the 12th, and the 26th. And Chris and Diane will be on the 19th. So you guys can look forward to them. And Chris, as RJ has mentioned to you, I have been lately giving you guys, if you want, of course, if you want to, the opportunity to read along and do some of the voices of the characters.
It's a lot of fun.
As long as it's English. I don't do
Oh
well with
yeah.
foreign languages.
Put up Japanese cuneiform or whatever, and then nobody will know.
You know, my son is actually learning some form of Japanese now, and I have no idea what his motivation is, but he's been sending me all these like little things he's written out in calligraphy, Japanese.
He's figured out that you're going to be.
And he, speaking of my co-host from this past Friday, hello, Rick.
Hey.
The Canadian Shield himself is here. Hey, Rick.
Hey, yeah, he's here doubled.
Man, that is a big figure. But yeah, you're doing the con thing, Chris, and you said October 1st. I think is that a Friday?
I'm not sure, but that's the show that we're doing in conjunction with our town.
October 1st.
We were supposed to go do a comic book club. Is it a Saturday?
Yeah, I believe it's a Saturday.
We were supposed to. I went into the library to go do an afternoon visit to their comic book club. They have like teenagers that go in and read and talk and make comics.
Yeah, that's
and
cool.
It's become a show. So they've moved it from the library to City Hall. We have multiple vendors from the local convention circuit coming. We might have a Canadian friend showing up, and in a small little town of Athol.
If that stupid thing known as the ArriveCan app is gone from Canada by then, which unfortunate probably it won't be.
Never. It'll that's the new normal, right?
Yeah. True Dumb says he wants it to be here to stay, but if we toss his ass out, hopefully the curve.
Careful! We don't want YouTube busting us for swearing.
Oh, we can talk about Trudeau.
Trudeau is not an official swear word yet.
Well, no. Rick said toss his bleep out.
Ass isn't a swear word according to those people.
I've heard a lot of fucking words worse than that on this channel. But
that was one of them.
Well, I mean, unless you're talking about a donkey, of course. Then.
Oh man, I think if they were going to nail us, they would have nailed us for that pipe bomb that I did against DC Comics a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
Hey RJ, I have to ask about the background color. Is it in tribute to Batgirl's passing?
You know what it is now.
Hey, it's better. It's better they chopped it before it got out because it would have been a complete and utter disaster.
Yeah, but you want to know something? I want it leaked to the internet just to see it out.
Here's the bad thing about this that a lot of people did not post, and this was brought up in the actual meeting with the investors and everything. The test screenings of the Batgirl movie were horrendous. People got up and walked out.
Yeah, I heard it was like bad TV, not even like...
It wasn't even close to being bad TV. It was like really bad. And so...
But now don't you kind of want to see it?
No, I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it because...
I want to see it a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I want it leaked to the net so I can get it, download it.
At least a couple of bad scenes.
No, I don't even want to even think about it because, I mean, it just...
I want to see how bad this thing was.
I really don't.
Well,
there
has been talk that if somehow somebody might get hold, if somebody does get hold of it, they might like pirate release it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, that's what I mean.
But the thing about it is, it's not complete. Because they didn't go into post-production, they didn't do research or anything like that. And they had already said that even with post-production and reshoots that were possibly coming, it would have been another $120 million into the movie, not including marketing, which has been another $50,000 to $60,000.
Right. So well, I mean, I know there was a big debate on whether or not they should release it because even if it is a piece of
it's better to
it might be better to at least try to recoup some of that.
Yeah, but if it's so bad that it's actually going to damage the Batman brand, I think that's what they're looking at. They're like long term, they want it to be solid.
So you have to understand something. If a movie costs with post production and everything $260 million, that movie has to make at least $650 million at the box office to break even. Birds of Prey.
So you don't even think, even if they did end up releasing it, basically what you're saying is they wouldn't recoup. They wouldn't recoup.
Not even close.
The point to where it wouldn't even be worth releasing.
Yeah, but wouldn't have it had to been most post production done to have a screening by an audience?
No, not on post production. No. I put it like this. I saw the test screening for Underworld, Rise of the Lycans, the third movie. And when you see a test screening, a lot of the special effects, like the CGI werewolves and stuff, it's paper. It's like an animated paper, black and white thing. It's not done.
You see a lot of green screen.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff not done in it. So they pick who they really want to see with the movie because they're going to be like, this works, this doesn't work, and so forth. But the way they're saying the acting was terrible, the whole thing was bad.
Well, the story.
You don't think we get to see a Roger Corman like release?
It was really a bad movie. So, like I said, and this is the thing about Zaslav. This is what people don't understand. When Zaslav and them got this debacle of entertainment from AT&T, they were $50 billion in the red starting out. Okay, $50 billion. That's why the CW got canned so quick, and why they pulled everything off the CW.
Okay, I need to know where my Stargirl's going to be.
HBO Max.
Okay, I have HBO Max so far. I'm still paying for the cable.
But HBO Max next year is going to merge with Discovery Plus, and they just cut 70% of the staff at HBO Max too. And the reason they did that, I'll explain why they did it. Because like I said, I was watching the board meeting. You had two separate companies doing the same job. For some reason, they did that.
Yeah, it happens all the time with a merger.
And he was like, we don't need that. We need one group doing one thing. And have everything under one house. And that's why they cut what they did. Now,
usually what happens with a lot of these mergers is a lot of consolidation and and limiting of the redundancy.
No, this wasn't what that was. This is all HBO Max in-house.
Oh, HBO had two companies doing the same thing.
Correct. HBO itself had two companies. This isn't Discovery and HBO. This is HBO Max by itself. They had two different companies doing the same thing.
So HBO had two different companies doing all this stuff behind the scenes, and they still couldn't get it to work as smoothly as Netflix.
Netflix isn't doing too good either. I mean, but
at least the interface is smooth.
Yeah, but with Discovery Plus coming, with the merger with Discovery Plus, it should make things better. But what they're focusing now on, and this is what Zaslav specifically said. Why are we? And this is how I put it. Why are we dealing with B and C characters when we're not even focusing on our A characters?
Yeah.
He said right now the two biggest properties of DC is Superman and Batman. Those should be our high priorities. And that's what we're going to focus on.
Yeah, but I disagree. Everybody's seen so much Superman and Batman. I'm sick of Superman and Batman.
When it comes to dollar figures, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, when it comes to money, they want big production, Justice League, stuff like that to run with. They do not want Batgirl or the Wonder Twins or this other stuff. They've
or also Supergirl who's never been Supergirl in the comics.
Correct. Mm-hmm. And you also have this debacle they got with Miller, and they're still trying to figure out.
I was just about to mention that too. Like one of the other big screaming points that's been out there is while Batgirl basically is getting canned, it looks like they're still going to release the Flash movie, the Flashpoint movie with Ezra Miller and all the garbage that's going on with him. So.
There's a difference between the two movies. The Flash movie's been done. It's in the can. Yeah. And they spent $240 million on it. Okay. So between Batgirl and the Flash, we're pushing close to $450 to $500 million. So instead of taking that big of a hit, it's best to take the finished movie, that's a complete movie, run it out there, try to make some kind of money back off of it, and then completely cut ties with Miller. That's probably going to be the best option they've got.
Yeah,
But they're weighing their options.
That's what's been talked about. Do you release it, recoup some of the cost, or do you not release it and hopefully save some face because you don't know what's been going on with Ezra Miller. You know
can't take a hit like
if you're sitting there, if it even looks like you're sitting there actively promoting him, then you're being labeled as of course. Dirty
it's like this: when you have creditors and you're having to recoup money, and you're already starting off with $50 billion in the red, it's kind of hard to take another hit of close to $500 million.
Yeah, I think the only way they cancel the Flash is if Ezra goes off and kills a bunch of people or something, God forbid, crazy.
Yeah, let's hope he doesn't do something stupid.
Yeah, I hope not. But that would be the
again.
He can't do much more damage other than going more psycho. So it's
I mean.
Well, and he's on the run right now.
The risk that they run in the risk that they run, and what you're arguing is that the risk is minimal, but still the risk that they run by promoting the movie, by releasing and promoting the movie, is that they take a hit to their reputation.
Reputation right now is one thing they can fix. It's money's the problem. Okay, again, you are looking at almost $500 million going into a situation where you're already $50 billion in the hole.
Yeah, but at that point, what's $500 million?
We're talking American billion.
Yeah, it's still.
The real money.
We're talking real money.
Yeah.
Okay.
But my point is, if you're $50 billion in debt, what is another $500 million?
A lot.
$500
A lot. Okay. Because right now they're trying to cut and get rid of that as quick as possible.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is that $500 million is like a
if you're
drop
trying
in
to
the
get
bucket.
rid of it, you don't add debt to it. I mean, we're not politicians who can't add.
Yeah.
Okay.
I get that, but I'm just saying it's a drop in the bucket.
It's not a drop in the bucket. That's the problem.
Well, compared to the $50 billion that you're already in debt, it's a bit of a drop in the bucket.
If the debtors, if the creditors won't give you the money and want their money back, $500 million is still $500 million.
Yeah,
and it's not the $100 million or whatever it was for Batgirl. They still got some. The pulling back on Batgirl cost them a lot less than it cost to pull back on Flash. Flash is
but he's saying, but if he. I think he was saying Batgirl stuff is part of that $500 million.
Batgirl is $100 million. Okay, Flash is right now sitting at $246 million. Okay,
yeah, and Batgirl had about $100 million to go into it.
Between the two of them, that's $400 million.
Gotcha.
But if you'd have gone if you'd have promoted Batgirl and gone up, it would have gone up to about $250 million as well.
Yeah. It had more work, all that more work to be put into it. That was going to cost more money. And, I heard all these people saying, this is an up and coming actress. You should have put the film out there. Even if it's bad, just to try to make your money back. I'm like, Halle Berry was an up and coming actress at one time.
Yeah.
And they just put Catwoman about that Catwoman movie produced. Let's not talk about that.
Hey, she even had Sharon Stone in it.
Yeah. That movie was bad.
Well, I haven't heard anything about Halle Berry in years, but the way James talking like
that movie out,
apparently something nasty happened with her or something like that.
No, they just put Catwoman out, and it killed the DC franchise for 10 years.
Oh yeah, that Catwoman movie was bad.
Yeah, so they don't want. It's just so they're kind of rating the Batgirl movie worse than the Catwoman movie.
Yeah. Even though, but
that's pretty bad.
But the Michelle Pfeiffer mask was going to appear in the Batgirl movie, showing that it's the Keaton universe. Blah blah blah. Who cares?
Well, RJ, you were making the point that they were talking about how they should have released the Batgirl film because of Leslie Grace as this up and coming actress, right? Well, here's a counter argument I've heard about that too. It's like, one of the things about, I guess I'm echoing a little bit for some reason, but anyways, one of the problems though is that if it's a bad movie, it could be her Damocles.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Basically, if she's this up and coming actress and then she gets saddled with a very poor film, she's not going to be up and coming anymore. People are just going to label her as a failed actress because she was in a failed project.
Yeah, Leslie, you're a good actress. You dodged a bullet.
Yeah.
Okay, you were rescued here.
No offense to Leslie, but I mean, we can go back and look at Jessica Lange. Her first movie was King Kong, and that was not a theoretical success. Now, of course, you have her losing her clothes in the movie, but they didn't take her as a serious actress for 10 years, 11 years? Yep. And she had a lot of damage because of it. So
I remember being like 10 years old, and I respected her a lot.
I was like 8 or 9, and I was like, whoa, hello. Now let's just be honest.
Make me go watch that movie again.
Let's be honest. Carolyn Monroe, back in the 60s and 70s, she was the go-to girl. I mean, let's face it. Golden Voyage of Sinbad. She's wearing those nice, beautiful silks. Even Neil Adams used her as the model for Talia al Ghul when he designed Talia and Ra's al Ghul. And yes, that is a fact. He did do it. And then they were going to cast her in the Hammer Films. Was talking with Vampirella. She was going to play Vampirella in the 70s movie.
Oh, nice.
So nice she was very popular.
So, speaking of the DC Universe movies, there's one that hasn't been cut because I've seen the trailer for it. Assuming that you see a trailer, you're going to see a movie.
Which one?
I want to say it's the new Shazam one.
Yeah, Shazam.
Oh, Black Adam. Oh,
no. There's a Shazam too.
Yeah.
Part two's coming. Yes, part two's coming, and so is Black Adam. Those two are still coming out.
But here's the thing: when I watched that trailer, I saw something in it. I saw Ben Affleck in a Batman costume.
Yes, he's back. He is back. Yeah,
he's in the Shazam universe, huh?
Still be something.
He is back.
Yeah.
So does that make Shazam part of the Snyderverse?
About Ben Affleck as Batman, he did not do a bad job.
I did not dislike him.
And I feel like just that fight scene, and when he beats the thugs up in Superman Batman, that was actually a pretty good fight scene.
Oh, he's the only one who's ever really moved the way Batman in the comics is given to move. When he was in Batman versus Superman and he swings around that cornice on a building, it's like none of the other Batman armored guys could do that, including Pattinson. Because the costume.
He really reminded me of the Dark Knight, Frank Miller, Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah.
That's what they cast him for, and I thought he did an excellent job as that character. Once they did the end of Justice League, you saw him in the Frank Miller Bat Tank. He's standing on top of the Bat Tank.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, that If you the long Justice League redo,
the very long one.
Yeah,
with the cliffhanger ending.
Yeah, after they get past Darkseid. But if you see the show, the animated movie Justice League Dark Apocalypse, that is how the DCU was going to end. The second movie. That's how Snyder was going to end it. So if you want to see how it was originally going to end, go over, watch the cartoon, because that's what they were going to do.
That's where they send Flash off to redo the universe?
Right at the very end, because half the Earth is destroyed, and and Wonder Woman's been cyborged.
Yep, he's like, go make it not happen. He's like, and this is like after Flashpoint, and he's like,
Flash is completely, his mind's like really warped. Yeah, he's real depressed and like that, and then and then at the end of the thing, he takes off to redo it.
Now that's why I've got to get one of the newer ones they put out, which was John Constantine, House of Mystery.
That one's actually the precursor to the Justice League.
It takes place after.
No. The Constantine movie, the Dark. Which one was it? Where he teams up with Batman and Fate. That's before.
But
that is
there's
before.
another. But
There's
there's
another
another
one.
new one.
There's a new one. Okay, haven't seen that
Yes,
one.
because it specifically addresses on the back that it's taking place after, the Apocalypse War.
Yeah, the Apocalypse War. That's the one that they fix it. Basically, they fix the end of the Justice League movie.
Yeah,
It's dark. I mean, it's really dark. I was surprised they actually did it, but hey, they did it. So
they did do it. Now, animation is. I haven't heard anything about the upcoming animated. Because DC's been doing these animated movies a lot, and I've liked most of them
over the past few years. Yeah.
Not now. Okay. DC animated movies. They're done. They're stopped for right now. They're doing a complete reset on everything, movie wise.
Okay. So everything I've got on HBO Max, I can cancel now because there's going to be no point for me to watch it. There won't be any Green Lantern. They're going to cancel Harley Quinn.
Well, they just did a Green Lantern. Beware My Power.
Yeah, that's on DVD and Blu-ray right now.
But yeah, I think they're going to go one more season on certain things on that's HBO Max and stuff. But a lot of stuff has been canceled now. The Batman Patterson stuff that was going to be on HBO Max, that's still a go. But they're really nitpicking of what's going to go and what's not.
So you're talking about like the Penguin spinoff?
I don't know if it's the Penguin spinoff of what, but they're supposed to be doing something with Patterson Batman on HBO Max. They let that loose during the credit talks and stuff. So
that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, since we have been kind of talking about Batman the last few minutes, it might be a good segue to go back to Friday night. If you guys want to do that, can we talk about the show I had the other night?
Well, yeah, we talked about that. You hit the April 1939, which includes Detective 27, and you guys went over the first appearance of Batman. How do you so how did that set with you? Having seen Batman for years and years and years, to go back and see his first appearance.
Yeah, it was very interesting because in some ways he was depicted a little bit differently. I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but on Earth 2, Bruce Wayne was a pipe smoker.
Well,
whereas in the other adaptations, he wasn't. In fact, according to some of the notes that we went over before I went through all the readings, they said he supposedly died of cancer in 1979. He was born, according to them, April 7th, like 1913, and or 15 or whatever, and passed away in 1979. It was, even the interaction between Bruce and Commissioner Gordon was a little, as Bruce, not as Batman, because Batman at this point, of course, as we know,
didn't interact at all.
Yeah, I mean, because the fact is he was considered an outlaw, and they, but we also covered some others, we did cover Batman. We also covered the first appearance of Golden Age Red Tornado, Ma Hunkel, even though she didn't make her first appearance as Red Tornado until All American 20. But even and Rick, if you want to speak to this as well, as a character, just as Ma Hunkel, she was a very interesting character and how she dealt with the kid. Because she came, she was, of course, debuted in the Squibbly feature. That's where she originated from as a Squibbly character. Rick, you want to pitch in on that?
No, I can't think of much to say, for the Ma Uncle character. But Batman for sure. Bruce Wayne seemed a lot more laid back than as Bruce Wayne when talking to Commissioner Gordon.
It's funny how he's like, I'm a billionaire playboy. I'm just going to go into the police station, talk to the commissioner about what's going on. Hey, how's it going?
Here's an
we travel in the same circles, surely.
I thought they were at his house or something like that. Commissioner Gordon's house.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I think it was at his house, but But yeah, and then the fact that Commissioner Gordon kind of invited him to come along with them too, that was kind of another interesting part. It's like, you hear about ride-alongs today, but you wouldn't think that a Playboy would do something like that. But yeah, and of course some of the other stories we covered, of course, Hop Harrigan, a story of his. We also covered, as I said, the first published appearance of Sandman. And the reason I make that note, reason I repeatedly make that note, say his first published appearance, because what has been revealed over the years, apparently, that was his first published appearance, because the story in which Sandman came into Adventure Comics number 40, that story was actually meant, from what I understand, was actually meant to be published before the one in New York World's Fair Comics.
Yeah, so Image's publishing issues are not a new thing in this industry.
No.
So apparently, because many historians pointed out that the events that took place in his appearance in Adventure Comics number 40, in which he's taking on the Tarantula, in universe, those events supposedly took place before the New York World's Fair comics appearance. Now, here's some other little notes I want to just add on to the thing about the New York World's Fair comics too. One, I think it was initially New York World's Fair comics 1 and 2 were designed as promotional comics. They were designed.
Well, yeah, the New York's Fair was going on.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
in fact, they even noted that was one of the first comic appearances of the Trilon and Perisphere. But also for DC, the New York World's Fair Comics number 1 was the first comic that, as I've come to call them, was kind of a super anthology. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. As you guys know, a lot of the monthly comics back then were anthologies. They weren't feature comics like they are today. Feature comics would come later. So you'd have these regular anthologies, and you'd have maybe 2 or 3 main characters, and then a bunch, and then some other minor characters. Well, New York World's Fair Comics is one of the first examples that eventually led to what World's Finest started out as in Comic Cavalcade, as a super anthology in which they would take maybe the top 1 or 2 characters from the other books on a quarterly basis and place them and have a story in these comics, where you'd have long before World's Finest became a Superman Batman team up book, they were the top 2 features in World's Finest on a quarterly basis, and you'd have other characters like Slam Bradley come in. Yeah,
that's the way they did it back then. I mean, the interesting thing about this is when it always gets me is the month that Detective Comics 27 came out is the same month my dad was born. So
April of 39.
Yeah, that's the same month my dad was born. So it's really cool. It was really cool growing up. But you can see the difference when the big difference. I think when they made the big difference with Batman was when Neil Adams and who was the writer? I had his name on my top of my head. I can't think of it right now. But when the writer, when they came in,
was born April 39.
When they came in and took over, because he was a real detective and had been before he started writing comics, that's when they did the major change. That's when the Big Cape came in. That's when Ra's al Ghul came in, Talia, all that. It got gritty. It got, the Batman that we all fell in love with was when they came in and took over. And they really did. I mean, and some of that stuff is fantastic. I mean, just unbelievably fantastic.
I have to say the Batman I fell in love with was not those. It was Adam West.
Yeah. I'm sure we all grew up watching it. One more point I want to bring up too. The first story, of course, we read was the Zatara story from Action Comics 12, Zatara in the Fourth Dimension. That had some interesting aspects too, including, you may not believe this, but 2 women kissing, lip to lip.
Oh, dude. Okay. here's a fact about stuff, and this is from Cecil B. DeMille himself. That back in the early 30s, in his movies, he actually said, and I'm quoting this: if you wanted to get heat on a movie and get every guy in town to get in there, have two girls kiss.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard
That's
that
exactly what he said. And he said you don't do it all the time. He says you do it very rarely. And he did it once in one of his movies, and it sold out. And he did it. It's one of those things. But the thing about it is shock and awe of it. And then you go look at him.
I want to hand it over to Rick here because Rick had some interesting commentary on.
Let James finish first before we hand things over to people.
I mean, you go like in the 60s with Hammer Films, The Vampire Lovers. What's the story between that? It's the story of Carmilla, and what does she do? She seduces another woman, and guess who plays Carmilla? The lovely Ingrid Pitt, who was Miss James Bond. Okay, and there's one scene where they're both in bed with no clothes on. It's in the movie, and this is in the 60s. So it's that shock and awe, but it's very rarely done. Nowadays, nobody cares. But back then, it was rare, very rare, and they did it. And what happens? It's the villain that's doing it, and the villain's the one that dies.
Yeah. Well, the point I was making too when I made my commentary on that was that one of the points I was pointing out, and Rick also confirmed that too, that in this case it wasn't necessarily a romantic kiss either. It was just with a kiss to seal a peace treaty, basically. It was in what I mentioned was how some cultures will, there's no romance involved in terms of, when you have two people of the same gender kissing each other, sometimes there's no romance involved. Sometimes it's just part of the cultural aspects of greeting.
Wait a minute. Is there really a culture? But would there really be a culture that has two girls making out or kissing to seal a deal?
When I'm Prince of the Planet, there is. Yes.
Can you imagine that deal? RJ, we're opposing kings. You go get your cousin's daughter. I'll get my next door neighbor. We'll
okay, now you two make out while we sign this contract.
What they usually did was have the son marry the daughter. That's the way it usually worked.
Yeah. Well, in this case, respectively, they were the leaders of their countries.
Oh, they were the leaders. Okay.
I'm thinking those guys would have some sort of really twisted way of working things.
Well, one was the queen of her country. The other had basically been made queen of her country by Zatar in the story. Again, you guys are going to want to go back and watch the show to get all the full context. But I also want to give Rick because Rick had some interesting commentary on the story itself and how it was written. I was wondering if he might remember what he said and what he wanted to. If you wanted to share that with everybody here.
Well, Zartara, basically, he comes into the fourth dimension, which really doesn't look much different than anywhere else.
Of course not. How would it?
This is the 30s. I mean, come on. It's not,
But besides that, he's dragged into a war that he knows nothing about, doesn't discover and ask any questions about the war, and he's told he gets them to stop fighting. He doesn't even know why they're fighting. He doesn't know whether one's a good guy and one's a bad guy. He just goes along and does it, and then basically, this one guy dies apparently that's supposed to be the king of the one, and he says, "Oh, you're going to be the queen of this new one, and now this one's going to rule you're going to become one nation. You're going to be the top ruler, and then the lower ruler." It's like, what if these people didn't agree to, the people of the land didn't agree to this?
Sounds like
who are you just to come in here and dictate all this?
Yeah,
we implement democracy wherever we go.
It sounds like a modern day anime.
I'm jumping over a lot. I'm making, I guess I'm hitting the point, sort of what I said on Friday, but in a very condensed.
We had a couple of interesting discussions on
some of those stories back then are way out of whack.
Okay, I missed both of you because you both talked at the same time. Mike, what did you say?
I just simply said we covered a lot. We had a couple of interesting discussions as we went through the show and stuff. So that's all I was pointing out.
It was a very prescient indication of American intervention and imperialism, because that's what we do. We go into countries and we implement democracy. We say, okay, we don't like how you're doing things. You guys quit fighting. Now you're going to vote.
No, not even a vote. He literally set up a monarchy.
Oh, okay. So like the CIA then.
With 2 queens.
Yeah, I mean, those stories back then, a lot of those things just go completely nuts. You can see it. I mean, you even look at movies back then. Some of those movies were just weird. So, everybody they threw everything at the wall. They threw everything.
Yeah. To me, it was just a lot of bad writing for that story. Nobody really thought this story through.
It wasn't. It wasn't
supposed to be thought through.
Out of the thing.
Yeah.
They were trying to
get. Again, I highly recommend you guys go back and watch the show, because it was even though it was a 3-hour show, we had some good discussions in there, and we really covered some pretty interesting stuff there as we were reading the stories.
Yeah, especially the first couple.
Catch it. Go catch it.
People writing these stories were not trying to win awards. First of all, because there were, even the awards that could have qualified, they were never going to win. They were trying to just, keep books out on a schedule, take care of paper and get push paper onto shelves, and hopefully it doesn't get returned. I mean, the first comic book that won an award that wasn't made for comic books was Watchmen. Watchmen won a Hugo. And okay, so that may not be the first
I'm still trying to figure that one out.
Mouse may have won a Pulitzer. I'm not sure on that one, but I'm going to go with the Watchmen one because I know the Watchmen one. Won a Hugo, and the Hugo pitched a bitch. The people on the Hugo pitched a bitch about it because they're like, it's a comic book. And they actually had to go create a new category.
Yeah, but I'm still trying to figure out why they picked that one.
You had to be there at the time, man. It was.
I was alive during the time of the Watchmen.
I know.
I'm still saying, what would they,
It was the best science fiction novel of that year.
Okay.
Yeah. I just think it probably, if they would have made it like a 2-parter, it would have been better. Half in. Well,
they made it a 12-parter.
Oh no, not the Watchmen. I'm talking the story for Zatara.
Oh!
I was going to say, the one-parter alone for the Watchmen was good enough.
I don't think, and RJ, you may be able to speak more to this as well, but I don't think back then they were really. It's not like they were really doing a lot of deep storytelling type stuff.
No.
We have to remember they were more. The writing was more episodic back then than it is today. Today, it's more serial. You usually do have more of a kind of a story, a series of stories, or a serial going along the as it is now today. Back then, it was more episodic, it was more like cartoon.
Yeah, but back then, even with the other 1 or 2 times I've been on with you, they had stories go from book to book to book for 3 or 4 episodes of the same.
Yeah, but weren't they usually like 2-page stories, and then they would just come back next month for the next 2 pages?
No,
well, that was more earlier on.
But here's what
where we're at now. It's like 4 pages for like some of the slice of life stuff, and maybe more. It depends upon the feature too.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I haven't come back and read them, like the rodeo one,
Yeah, but here's the thing that you guys are missing, and this is really important. The involvement of government control over media was a whole lot stronger back then, especially with newsprint and comics and everything like that. They made certain things, especially
not in 1939.
39 was starting to get hairy because of the war that was going on.
Yeah.
So there was some pushback. Okay, you got to keep that in mind. Even though they were writing what they were writing, the thing is, they had to do their stories like they did, making kind of like they were, because the U.S. government was looking for anything that would be anti-American, anti-this. Yeah. And the other thing is, if you go look at the pictures from DC Comics back then, they were in a boiler room drawing. Okay, they didn't even have desks. They had their drawing tablets on their legs, all sitting around one in a circle, all of them draw them at one time. That's what DC Comics was back then. It wasn't like it is. It wasn't like what it is now, where you have desks and everything like that. No, they were in a one-room building, one room. They were all sitting around with these tablets on their legs, drawing these on the books. So it was a whole different.
Actually, back then, DC was technically two companies at that point in time. You had National Allied periodicals, which was publishing like Action Comics, Adventure, More Fun, and Detective, and then you had All American Comics, which was starting up with All American.
But again, nobody had any money. That was the whole thing.
Yeah,
they didn't.
And the publishers didn't want to touch the war. The publishers were like, no, we're not getting involved in the politics of this, because in 1939, America hadn't entered the war yet.
No,
it was the writers and artists.
Well, Quality kind of did. Quality Comics kind of did with Black X.
Yeah, but they were very careful about it.
But they did it very carefully. And when we actually got into the war, that's when you saw the very pro-American stuff come out and how bad the Nazis were and stuff. That's when all that stuff came. Yeah. Because the government asked, they needed to get the people on their side. If the government of today was back then, we would have had a mess.
We'd be speaking German today.
Oh, yeah. So
possibly. Yeah. If you want to get a good view of what it was like and get a good story, go read The Adventures of Cavalier and Clay. Because that's a fictional story about two comic book creators back in the days of the infancy of the industry, and it's the book won a Pulitzer, so it's actually kind of good.
Yeah, I know, and I know RJ. We were talking about the idea of winning awards back in the 30s. There, if you think about it, one of the more famous awards that people talk about. The guy who the award is named after was actually doing comics at that point in time.
Yeah.
Will Eisner.
Yes, Will Eisner. That's why they named it after him, because he was so
RJ.
Influential. Yes, Chris, you're there.
You're coming up on an hour, and I think it would be almost criminal if someone didn't at least utter this name one time on your show tonight. But Chris Claremont.
Oh, yes.
He's canceled. He's canceled. Yeah, I've actually got him on the list. Thank you for bringing him up.
I knew somebody had to bring him up. I knew it.
The man is
brilliant. It's so brilliant. Yes.
The man who introduced inclusivity and diversity to comics is a bigot.
Yeah.
He's gonna be canceled.
No, dude, the thing is people don't understand this about Chris Claremont, and this is back in the 80s and stuff. He came up with especially with the X-Men. It was not Chris Claremont who really saved the X-Men. It was the editor over X-Men that was sitting on top of Chris Claremont that saved it, because Chris Claremont was throwing stuff left and right out of completely thing like that, especially the little thing about Kitty Pryde.
Which little thing? Because there were a lot of little things.
The one about Black Panther and Storm, and
he was going to have the Panther God retroactively make her the daughter of Storm and Black Panther, and make her black.
Correct.
And then let her know that her history had been changed, and have her make the decision to stay or go back.
Yeah, that was exactly. Yeah. So that was X real quick. That was like, no, we're not doing that.
I kind of remember seeing Chris Claremont's name as part of the executive staff for like the X-Men cartoon. I'm aware that you were right about it. So what exactly is the big thing about him being canceled then? He
was at a convention. And always nothing good comes out of a convention these days.
Yeah.
And he was on a live tweeted convention. And apparently whoever was doing the tweeting was like, it's like, oh my God, he's burning the house down in front of us. Just because of things he was saying. And then the train pileup came. Like, well, if you needed to know that Chris Claremont was a bad person, all you had to do was look at all the bigotry and phobia that's in X-Men that he wrote. I'm like, are you serious? I mean, Claremont's reason for having diversity and inclusion in X-Men was not altruistic. It was not. His reason for having that was that he challenged himself. He's like, I can write any accent. Give me an accent you want to write. That's why Wolverine exists, because somebody said, bet you can't do a Canadian accent.
Hey, bub.
Yeah.
There's a Canadian accent.
But the bad thing is when they cast him in the first cartoon,
he was Australian.
He was Australian with Spider-Man, and then the X-Men Keep Riding.
Yeah,
it's an Australian actor doing an Australian accent. I'm like going, what?
Yeah. They confused a Wolverine with a Tasmanian devil, I guess.
and not only that, but here's the funny thing: the actor who actually played Wolverine is Australian.
Yes, he is Australian. Hey, Erwinberg is back. Yeah, you got distracted. That's okay. We did too. Yeah, check out the Cyclopean #4, the great Cyclopean #4 from HeroShack.com. Sold direct, which we know is a $3.7 million model to follow now. So let's make that all happen for Chris. I can
tell you, it sold out at Terrificon. We sold out of our stock, which amazed me. Diana did a great job at selling all 4 issues as a pack. And every time I left the table, I come back and she'd sell another pack or 2. And I'm like, all right, I'm going out again. I'm going around the corner. I'll be back. It seemed like every time she would make a sale.
Well, you know what it is. You leave a pretty blonde at a table. If there's a great big guy next to her, people are less likely to walk up to her. She's sitting there by herself.
I literally mess up her sales pitch because she gives a really Reader's Digest elevator pitch. And if I'm there, I'm like, well, actually, you're not telling them the whole story. It goes, and she's like,
yeah. You're not supposed to tell them the whole story.
Yeah.
They're supposed to read that for themselves.
Yeah. Like, stop talking, Chris. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the idea is you're supposed to only give them just enough to tempt them to want to read more of the story.
Well, apparently she does a better job at it because every time I leave, she's doing so well. I'm like, oh, wow. You just need to do sales, babe.
Robert says they did film Wolverine's Canadian scenes in Canada.
They did in British Columbia. And here's the other go ahead.
I was going to say, actually, they filmed part of the X-Men in Hamilton, the first one.
Yeah.
There's a train station where, the police are all there that Magneto, sort of, stops all the bullets in midair. I know exactly where that is here in Hamilton.
And this is the $1 million question I've had for the movie Prey. Why the hell did you film it in British Columbia and not in Palo Duro Canyon? Because
taxes.
Well, no. But here's the thing. Everybody's been talking about Prey, which is the new Predator movie, which it is a good Predator movie. Okay. For a Predator movie, it's probably one of the best ones I've seen in years. The only big issue is when they said the tribe was Comanche, which I am part Comanche, and I'm sitting there watching it, there is nothing that is Comanche with these actors that are playing Native Americans. Not one thing is correct. And I mean, I was upset about it. My cousins really went ballistic over it. But yeah, they totally botched that completely. It was garbage.
Well, they only said Comanche because the writers thought the Comanche was the only badass tribe out there that could actually take on a predator.
Well, yeah, but the thing about it is, what's the number 2? What's the number 1 and number 2 thing about Comanches? They're a horse tribe that shoot from the horse, ride horses, and they use short bow with arrows and stuff. The whole time they're doing this, they're on foot. There's no Comanche raid horseback riding at all in this movie. I was like, what the heck? And the one that got me was this, we're gonna yeah, pretty much.
They were Comanche as much as he was Canadian.
I mean, I will say this. The main female actor of the movie, she's Sioux. She's actual Native American. So that was a good thing. But when I'm sitting there watching this and they're all lined up like British soldiers from the Middle Ages with the bows vertical in a line, I'm like, what is this?
This is not history. This is
this is bad.
Now, here's the coolest thing I found out about the Predator series this past week, and that's this. In 1985, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Dutch, is on the island hunting these predators. Who's the guy that they're trying to find? Who's good at getting out of scrapes and situations? Jim Hopper. In 1986, who's a guy who's fighting monsters and is good at getting out of scrapes and situations? In Stranger Things, Jim Hopper. There is now canonical connection between Predator and Stranger Things.
That's strange, isn't it?
I loved it. I think the directors had just said, "Yeah, we're taking that."
One other thing. What kind of Image comic book was released 30 years ago today?
30 years ago today.
Spawn?
No. Spawn was already out.
That'd been 40 years ago almost.
30 years ago today?
30 years ago.
They're going to like looking it up.
1992. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
If I was going to throw a guess, I'll throw Youngblood out, but I doubt it, right?
No, Youngblood was already out.
Yeah.
An Image comic in 92. Wow, I'm trying to think where I was, what I was doing.
Image. It's from Image Comics, you said, James?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, quit looking
I
on
could
the
Google it, but I'm not gonna.
That's what Mike's doing. He's Googling it.
Mike's Googling, of course, but
it's one of the original 5.
Oh, wait a second. One of the original 5 came out in 92?
They all came out in 92. This is the 30th anniversary of Image Comics.
It couldn't be Savage
Well,
Dragon,
then
could it?
Spawn was right.
No, Spawn was already released.
Well, it spawned Savage Dragon, Cyberforce, Youngblood, and Brigade.
No.
I'll say
Brigade.
Savage Dragon.
No, not Brigade. Mm-mm.
Savage Dragon?
No.
Wasn't there a
Cyberpunk
Shadowhawk
or-
in there somewhere?
Oh, there was there was a
I
Shadowhawk.
have it if you guys want me to tell you.
Yes.
We'll let James.
I'm
James
done
tell us
guessing.
since he stumped us without looking.
Jim Lee's Wildcats.
Oh, that's right. That was Image 2, wasn't it?
From the Wildstorm imprint, it went on sale on this date for $1.95, 32 pages, edited by Ruth Geist. The story was Resurrection Day.
You said something important there, Mike.
Huh?
You said something important there, and you just kind of breezed by it. $1.95.
Ah, yeah.
Mark Miller, all over the frickin' news, because, hey, guess what, guys? We're going to release books at $1.95. And the
Mark
news
Millar,
is all
yeah, I
over
did
it.
that story the other day. I know exactly what
Did you see what Pete Sametti did?
Pete Sametti's going to be pulling his hair out. He's like,
No,
"I
he got
know."
back and said, "What are you talking about? We've been doing it for years. Here's the proof."
Yeah.
You know, he posted it all over Frank Miller's thing. He was like, "Below, we were first. We've been doing it for years."
Yeah, exactly. And CBR's all, well, I don't know if it's CBR or comicbook.com. And then Thinking Critical, Wes is doing an interview with him about how can you do this? I'm like, dude, you know Pete. What the hell?
Yeah, I know. I was like, yeah, I know. It was like, what? Throwing Pete under the bus?
You know, it's Pete, not alternative, apparently.
Well, I want you guys to know that my next
I
comic.
did cover that story the other day too during one of
remember
the
that.
newscast night. So.
Your next
Well, I
comic's gonna be
want
okay.
you to know though, my next comic is going to be in full color. So I'd like you guys to pick it up. It's revolutionary. It's going to change the world. It's going to have
Nope.
a 4-color process.
Nobody's ever done that before, Chris. How in the world are you pulling that off?
I'm
Press junket
I'm
time.
looking into another dimension where it happens already, and I just see these books, and I know we can do it here.
You heard it here first, folks. Color comics are coming.
Yes,
comics.
yes. In the 21st century, you don't have to wait another 100 years. We're bringing it tomorrow, today.
I watched that whole thing because I get the emails and Mark Millar, his publicist emails me. His daughter Lucy emails me, group emails, not like she knows me personally. And she's like, stay tuned tomorrow for groundbreaking news. And I tune in for it. I'm like, that's the groundbreaking news. $1.95. Okay.
Now,
Are you going to print on newsprint?
I didn't track that well enough. Does anybody know if he's doing it on newsprint or is he taking like a real loss with some quality stock?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Well, knowing Frank, he probably got a deal with a company.
You mean Mark, right?
Yeah.
Mark Miller, the one
Mark
who's
Miller.
the one who's doing the like $1.95 comics now is
Yeah.
Mark Millar.
Okay. Basically, probably talked with the same company as doing Pete's.
Probably.
Because Pete, he is through the moon with this printing company. He loves these guys.
Yeah, Pete's
Robert
awesome. I see him
or
or his creators at every single convention because I'm up here in the Northeast where he's basically based.
But I'm saying that printing company he's got, I don't know who they are. I'm going to ask him about them. But
Yeah.
he loves them. He loves them.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris,
Well, he
you,
used to do an affiliator program, but he doesn't do it anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah.
have you reached out to Pete to come to that show that you guys have got going there?
We actually have Keith Gleason coming, who is Alterna
Who ran
Comics.
Plasticon.
Yeah. But I haven't reached out to him personally. I will, though.
I think that'd be a great thing to have happen there. Of course, I'd love to be there, but I'm going to be at my own convention the same weekend, September 30th through October 2nd. I'll be at Archon in Collinsville, right out of St. Louis. So
I'm gonna be in 2 weeks. I'm gonna be at the Arlington Festival, comic festival here in Arlington.
we're conventioning all over the place.
Yeah, and
I do get to take some time off just creating.
Well, October 24th, 25th, I'm going to be at Hamilton Comic Con here in Hamilton, Ontario.
Cool. Are you going to have a table?
Yeah.
See, that's the way to do it. Get your table, sell your books, and if you have a crowdfunder, find a website that creates QR codes and feed it the URL of your crowdfunder. Print that QR code and stand it up at your table. Print it on something that shows the crowdfunder image so that people can go by, take a picture of it, and now they've got it on their phone. They've got a link to your crowdfunder.
And it's no joke. The kid next to me had that on his sign. And so many people, that was exactly what they were doing. And, it's a one more way to get them to pay just another split second attention to your table now. That might sound like not much, but when you're sitting like 2 tables down from established Marvel artists and another 3 tables down, there's Dan Didio and I had John Romano Jr. running by my table all weekend because I guess I had the route closest to the bathroom. So he would run by and I'd go, "Yay, Junior!" And he'd like, "Hey," run by, and I'm like, "Yeah, I knew who you are."
Actually, and I got a little side note here. Robert Roberts dropped in for a little bit early on in the show on Friday. I kind of wish he'd stuck around because I don't think he stuck around to hear the readings that we went through, but he was around for the early part when we were talking, when we're doing some of the background stuff on Friday. Had some good questions there.
Robert's a good guy to have show up and chat. He's always got some good questions.
I don't know what Shooter's doing now.
So do you think that would be work behind glass, having that image up or whatever?
As long as I can get a picture of it, yeah. In fact, what I do when I go there with books, I'll have the QR code for the Amazon link of each book because a lot of people they want to buy books at a science fiction convention. They've got a limited amount of cash on them. They're picky, but if they scan it and you're putting it right in their Amazon cart, doing that.
Actually, I take credit cards.
I do that too, but a lot of people they just pass by and they don't come back. But if they've got your book in their cart, then they get home and they're like, "Oh yeah, I put all these books in the cart." Okay, fine. Just here's credit card.
I wanted to bring something up with James. I know he's another wrestling guy like me, kind of, and I know Chris and Rick I think are into wrestling a bit too. I know we talked a little bit about some of the stuff going on right now in wrestling, but the one thing I wanted to ask you about on the show here and get your viewpoint on is the stuff going on in WWE right now with, of course, Vince McMahon having to retire, the hush money scandal, and Triple H taking over creative and the changes that they're making there. I wanted to get your thoughts on all that.
The thing about it is, and I'm going to say this, if it was consensual, it didn't affect the job problems, and it's his own money, there's no big deal. But if it was the investor's money, then it's a big deal. Okay, and there's some gray areas there that I don't know about. So he may be in trouble, he may not be, but still, it caused enough drama that he needed to retire. And he is 77 years old. He's been needing to go several years. He has, because some of the decisions he's made in the past several years have been really detrimental to WWE. And now that Triple H and Stephanie's got it, we'll see what they are. Triple H did a really good job with NXT when it first rounded. He learned a lot from Dusty. So we'll see what he does. We're going into the big push before WrestleMania, so we'll see what happens. They
got Clash of the Castle coming up.
Well, Clash of the Castle is just an event that's going to be in Europe, so it's not going to be this big. That now, I could be wrong, but I don't see any titles changing hands. But when they did the Beast in the East, they did do a title change. And it's very rare for them to do a title change overseas, especially a world champion title. I think they've only done it once or twice in the entire history of WWE that they've done a title change outside the United States.
I think that was SummerSlam '92, if I recall.
I believe it was, but
that was the one where Davey Boy Smith had beaten Bret Hart for the IC belt.
Yeah.
Didn't they do wasn't there a title change at WrestleMania in Canada, in Toronto?
That one too.
Well, you can classify that one the screw job, but
Well, I think what Rick might be referring to, he might be referring to the Warrior beating Hogan for the world title.
Well, Montreal is called the Montreal screw job because it happened in Montreal. So, like I said, but on the world title, I think they only did it twice, and I think both of them was in Canada for the world title. But they very seldom do a title change outside the United States. Very seldom.
Yeah. Robert may not be overseas, but it is outside of the States, Canada.
No, well, that's what I'm saying.
It's like a whole other country.
Yeah, right. But I'm saying outside the United States on a title change is very rare. The NWA has done it in New Japan Pro Wrestling and in AW and all Japan Pro Wrestling. They did it several times there. And same thing with the AWA. The AWA has done it in Japan. WWE very seldom, they'll go to Canada and they'll do some shows in Europe. But other than that, they're very seldom do they go other places. Now, they did a tour in Australia a few years ago. So, they're getting out like that. And like I said, they did the special show in Tokyo. So it just depends on what they want to do.
Well, from some of the things I've been seeing, particularly from WrestleMania and stuff like that, it does seem like Triple H is really working to completely change the culture of the WWE in terms of how they present. I mean, a number of terms that were banned by Vince, like wrestler, have now been unbanned. There's also talk Karrion Kross with Scarlett came back this past Friday night. They're talking about splitting the unified titles up again, where maybe possibly having Kross win one of the titles and somebody else winning another one.
It all depends. It all depends. I mean, Triple H has not been in charge very long, and he's got a lot of work to do. There was a lot of friction in the locker rooms, so we'll have to wait and see.
Well, apparently now it seems like a lot of that is is better because
And
a lot of people.
he hasn't been in charge very long. He's still got a lot of work to do and a lot of planning. You don't plan a title change or anything unless there's an injury 1 or 2 weeks out. It's usually they pick when they're going to do it, when the title change will be done. Like right now, if you didn't notice, they brought up they're going to have a new battle bracket system to crown a new United Kingdom championship. If you didn't know, they haven't had a United Kingdom champion in a while. And they're also doing it for the women's title.
Women's tag title.
So, they're having to take care of that situation. So that's everything that's going on over there. What I am enjoying is that we're seeing a lot more of the Ring of Honor people on the TNT show. Because Ring of Honor's, they're trying to get Ring of Honor back up and running, which is going to be good. They've got a lot of good talent there. So everything's getting back to where it was. So,
well, Claudio Castagnoli just had a successful ROH World Title defense against Konosuke Takeshita on the Battle of Belts that was shown last night. It was taped Friday as part of the Rampage package. But
I know all about it. I know about Thunder Rosa winning, and I know about the other match too. So
Wardlow retaining his title over
Jay Lethal.
Yeah.
And thanks for putting that in the chat, Heroenberg.
Yeah. Heroenberg is good at that stuff. Can't put my link in there anymore. Our campaign closed. We are no longer.
Yeah, Roberts. They do have a wrestling scene. They've got
Rev Pro,
but they have a lot of wrestling. There is a wrestling in England. So yeah, there is one. Yeah.
Actually, on AEW's Dark and Elevation shows that are on YouTube, they have been showing some of Pac, formerly Neville of the WWE. He recently won their newly established All Atlantic title, and they've been showing some of his title defenses over in England and stuff with Rev Pro and stuff like that. You've seen at least a couple of them.
But yeah, there's like I said, there's been wrestling over in England. Yeah.
Robert, you can get a digital. If you want to get the digital of number 2, you can get the digital of number 1 as an add-on on my campaign.
Oh, cool.
I have it as the add-ons, physical or digital, for all the books, any books that I have.
Oh, and speaking of new books,
James has made acquisitions.
Oh yes, I made a lot of acquisitions this week.
Because
wonderful book from
the Black and the Glare isn't working. Where that is the Jack the Ripper Vampire Hunter book.
This is the special cover stuff. Yeah, this is the one with all the girls.
Yeah,
and of course I got the trading cards too.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Robert, normally I used to have them on my website, number 1 to get physically or digitally, but while my campaign was going on, I figured it was best to have it on my campaign.
Good idea. Yeah, always make everything available on the campaign, which I didn't even do. I didn't make everything available on our last campaign. But
so what video am I supposed to run to promote your soft cover now?
Hey James, did you hear about Crunchyroll purchasing Right Stuff? And if you did, what's your take on that?
Okay.
Wake me up when the manga stuff's over.
Well, this is going to be real quick, real fast. Crunchyroll, which is owned by Sony, Funimation merged with Crunchyroll. Crunchyroll went up and bought Right Stuff, one of the biggest, which is the biggest anime department store kind of thing that you can buy from. They ship. The only problem with Crunchyroll is that if you want anything spicy, you're not going to get it from Right Stuff anymore. They're going to send you to another website for another company to handle that. That's going to be the headache because Crunchyroll and Sony don't like playing with adult stuff. So you're going to have to go to another website for that. Now, do I like it? Everybody says it's a monopoly. It's not a monopoly because High Dive is still around, and High Dive has a lot more anime that Crunchyroll's not running, so you can go back and forth between the two. So it's like that. Myself, I get my stuff from Japan, so and I have it.
Well, I also think though the monopoly argument there is that they're trying to become a monopoly. Is I think what it is. It's they may not be a full monopoly yet, but because you're right, High Dive is still pretty active, pretty competitive.
Also, Viz can pull stuff because Viz has the copyrights and the rights to sell everything here. They're just using Crunchyroll and their stores fronts to push their product. If Viz wants to pull out, Viz can go back to selling their own stuff.
Robert Roberts, Digital Twos is. I have 2 books I'm selling basic on that campaign, which is Canadian Shield #2 and Snowdrift #1. That is both of those books digitally. You can get a copy each of them digitally.
Yeah, but you called them twos, and that was kind of confusing.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't sure what to call it. So
the digital pair.
Yeah.
Like,
well, but
like,
I show both. But I show both. Books on the thing. So I was hoping most people would get it by the picture.
Yeah, kind of like the dirty pair, but digitally. We've talked a lot.
Dirty pair is the name of a manga and anime, by the way.
Yes, well, that's why I said it. We talked a lot in the past about going out and crowdfunding, $25 to buy DC Comics. But if that's too expensive, do you think we can maybe get $12.50 to go out and buy Valiant?
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Speaking of Valiant, Valiant may be going under.
Yeah, I know. That's
I kind of thought it was under.
Am I the only one who's listening to what I'm saying?
No, I mean, I saw something today that the executives of Valiant now say ex-executives. It looks like they're fixing to crash hard and burn. Because what company was it? No one in the office at Valiant is responding to emails or press requests or anything. So they may be finally done. So it could be finally over for Valiant.
So the important question of all of this, I mean, if Valiant crashes, the thing that everybody wants to know, what's going to happen to Heather?
She's not there.
She's not there?
She's been at
IDW, didn't she?
She's been at IDW for months.
Yeah. Was she there at one point? Did she help bring Valiant?
Keep track of her.
She was at Valiant at one time, yeah.
She crashed and burned the company, and then she jumped ship. Now it's falling apart.
Okay, yeah. I just want to know, where can I go to buy these characters for Valiant?
Yeah, Jim Shooter.
I want to know if I should get Diana to hire Heather.
Oh no!
Why? You want to crash and burn?
I'll tell you how bad this is for her. Okay, when DC Comics refuses to hire somebody,
yeah,
and they turned her down. Mm-hmm. That's bad.
Yeah.
I know why they turned her down, but I'm not going to say why. So
it doesn't have anything to do with the typos that she lets go, right?
No, it had to do something with somebody picked on somebody they shouldn't have picked on.
Oh,
yep,
yeah,
absolutely. Robert, thank you so much for getting out there and supporting our creators on our show here. Appreciate that. Yeah, and here's the thing, and I brought this up today in a chat because Heather is always like at the center of the whole milkshake girl thing, and everybody looks at the milkshake girl incident and says, "Oh my God, what would women in comics? Why Comicsgate just couldn't handle that?" I'm like, that was never the point.
Milkshake girl.
Yep. Sit back and learn on this one, okay? This is history.
And what's her name's gone too? It seems like from Marvel. The girl that created Ms. Marvel, the new Ms. Marvel.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, and it's spicy too. It seems like she did something she wasn't supposed to, and it may get her in some serious trouble.
Well, I heard that a couple of weeks ago, and I hadn't heard anything more about it.
Yeah, because I think there's a gag order now.
Okay.
So but you're not going to see any press releases on this one.
Yeah, I mean, when the assistant editors all went out and they got the milkshakes in honor of Flo Steinberg's passing, the reaction to the photo was not, oh my God, women are making comics. No, the reaction was with one guy who had already been criticizing Marvel, saying, why are all these typos getting through? Why are all these bad plots getting through? Why are all these characters not acting like the characters anymore? What's going on? And then this picture came out of all the assistant editors. And the reaction was, oh, why are all these 45 to 48-year-old dumpy white guys hiring attractive 22-year-old females for their assistants? That was the point that was being made. And that got twisted into, oh my God, women in comics is a bad thing. No, the dig was not at the girls. The dig was at the men hiring them and saying, and insinuating, and probably correctly, I mean, given some of the people involved here, Jordan and all those others, are you really focused on comics, guys? Or are you, thinking about
well, there's that one.
Basically, the boys were being a little bit naughty, as it were.
Well, yeah, they were. The problem is Chris Claremont made this quite obvious. The problem is we got rid of all the legends that should be teaching the idiots that are running it right now, and that's what the last generation had. We had guys that came up in the industry and wrote them and drew them, and now they're telling other people how to do it. But they don't have that now. They have a bunch of idiots guiding a bunch of unexperienced idiots.
It's funny how you say that, Chris, because in one of the articles I covered this last week as part of my newscast, I think I read that same exact reasoning in one of the articles I actually did this last week.
Yeah. Well, if you have not heard, Marvel and DC Comics, the comic companies, released their figures also, and combined, they lost $246 million.
Wow!
Comics are better than ever. So,
thank gosh they got them.
I would love to see one of Tug's financial analysis videos on that.
Yeah, he was focused on IDW.
He hasn't been doing anything.
Yeah, he's been focused on IDW. But no, like I said, I found that out the other day. I was like going, holy I was like, no wonder Zaslav is blowing a gasket. I mean, I'm going to say this. When I went off on the other day, when I went off on DC Comics in here, I think that's actually going to happen. I think Zaslav is going to go in there and just annihilate them.
I'll be right back, guys. I got to step away for a moment.
Yep. And all I can say is I want my popcorn in front row seat.
Well, how did you watch the other one? Is there like a live stream of the whole thing?
I have Discovery stock.
Oh, you're allowed to watch, aren't you?
Oh, yes. I'm a stockholder.
Eventually all this woke stuff is going to cost so much money, and investors are going to get sick of not making.
That's exactly what happened at this meeting. Yep. I mean, it's money, profits first. We don't care about this social justice stuff. We want profits. It's costing us money, and we're tired of losing money.
The truth is, when I was a kid, even a young adult in the 90s, there was social justice stuff, but it was balanced with good writing, and you didn't mind so much when they slipped something in because it wasn't on everything, and it wasn't just there to get you going. And now it's just that's the content of their story, something social justice.
It's like it's like when your mom puts a plate of food in front of you as a kid, and you got some meatloaf, you got some potatoes, you got some mac and cheese, and you got these two things of broccoli here. You don't really want them. It's just a little bit. She's gonna make you eat them. But now it's like, you go visit your mom and she's 112 and she's senile. And all she's got is a freezer full of frozen broccoli, and she doesn't even heat it up. She just dumps it on a plate. Like, here, nothing but broccoli. That's the comics industry now. We've gone from here's a little bit of everything to no, this is the stuff you need to have.
You're right. Did it freeze everybody?
No.
I just got to
do I need to drop this thing?
No, I just got to notice. I was reading over here, and I was like going, okay.
I thought RJ just shocked you all, but I agree with you, RJ.
I'm just going to read you what it says on this notice. It's just a few words. DC disemboweled by David Zaslav.
Is this new breaking?
This is what I'm seeing right now. So yeah, it looks
Can
like
you
he
bring it up
just
for the
went.
class? Come on, share
He
it.
just went. He just went in and I just said thing. So right now I can't access it. Just give me the title. So this may be. This may be the. Here we go. And this may be the end of DC Comics as it is right now. There may be, and I'll be honest with you, this is what I think is going to happen when if he's doing this right now. Jim Lee will be removed as CEO and president of DC Comics,
Oh yeah.
and he will be moved. He'll be moved down. He'll bring somebody else in. He'll still be on DC Comics to help with comic books and stuff, but he's not going to be in charge anymore. I think most of the editing staff, which they rehired, will get terminated again, which they fired 2 years ago. I look for any book that sells under 30,000 copies to be canceled,
We're gonna have
and
nothing but Batman.
that team that's involved with it will probably get like 90 days to fix the problem or be terminated. I really do. I think that's what's going to happen.
So, hey, James, so let me ask you this. What do you think is going to happen with Superman, son of Kal-El?
Oh, I think that one's going to get canned because it's not selling that well. I think it's only selling like 15 to 20,000 copies.
Yeah, they
But
had
they
all
got
that
Dream-
big
they got
hype
Dreamer.
over the stupid thing, and then it just bleh.
Well, and I think what happened was that book that came out with Harley Quinn, and they posted it, made it on social media. That posted that one scene. I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back. I think that right there is what probably did it. And DC is fixing. There's going to be a major house cleaning. I'm guessing 70 to 80% of DC Comics will be terminated.
Yeah, I guess David. It sounds like David Zaslav's about to do his rock impression, right? You know what I mean by his rock impression, right?
No, it's
He's
not.
gonna shine his boot up, real nice and shiny, and just go straight up.
In my viewpoint, this needs to be done, but also there's going to be a lot of people that's going to be out of work, and it's not going to be pretty. I think there'll be severance packages, but it's not. You're going to see a lot of people looking for work.
You're gonna see a lot of Kickstarters.
Yeah,
Maybe
all of a sudden it's going to be
Well,
popular.
you're gonna probably see a lot of footprints on a lot of people's rear ends too.
Yep, but all these people have nothing to do. They're gonna.
yeah. So
Harrenberg, you're right. I didn't think about that because this is sort of like our open mic. But Robert Roberts did earn a shake and bake moment for backing Cross Comics during the stream, so we have to do
It's
it.
shake and bake, and I help.
We run that for everybody. Who,
Yeah. And
helps.
and Robert Roberts, I've already emailed you the link to the page to download it.
It's fulfilled. It's fulfilled already. Show's
Well,
not even open. It's fulfilled.
Well, I've still got to get the trading cards that he bought out in the mail tomorrow.
Well,
It's partially, one part is fulfilled. And the show's not over. I can't help
Speaking
it that post offices aren't open this time of night.
Oh, okay. I had three things on my bullet list here: the WB Axe, Chris Claremont, and Sandman. So, Harrenberg, if you want us to talk about Sandman, I just finished the 24/7 episode, so I've been through hell. He's gotten everything back so far. Sandman it's weird, and it's weird by necessity in a lot of places. For one thing, it's close enough to the comics that every episode you're like, I remember reading this ish. The casting, people have talked about the casting. I'm like, you know what? You cast who you want. Just tell a good story. I don't care anymore. So I'm just now getting ready to start the Death episode. So I have not yet seen, the Sound of Her Wings. I've not yet seen how the actress is playing his sister. The actor is okay as Morpheus. I too put off by the fact that Lucifer was being played by a woman in this one because it was very androgynous, and it's an angel, and they're supposed to kind of be androgynous. The only one that I had trouble swallowing, and this was the one they actually had to do this way, was they took out John Constantine, and replaced him with Joanna Constantine, who appeared in the Sandman books as his ancestor, but now she's here in modern day taking his role, and it's all because it's the Sony Spider-Man problem. It's the Bruce Wayne problem in Smallville. The rights were already given to somebody else to make stuff, and they couldn't give them to HBO Max to get Matt Ryan to play John Constantine. Couldn't get anybody to play John Constantine, probably because of the Keanu Reeves movie in the works, the second Keanu, the second one that they're making, unless they're not anymore, because it's a WB project, and if anything they deserve to be axed, it's a Keanu Reeves
thing did so well, right?
Yeah,
Matrix movie.
Matrix
So
4.
Yeah, Matrix 4. That was.
And here's something for everybody to understand. To remember this, because I found this out, which I think is hilarious. If you noticed on Twitter, they were talking about, the new casting of the X-Men, and we may get a black version of Professor Xavier. There's only one catch. The contracts for the X-Men movies, all stars that are signed up for the old X-Men movies are locked into the characters till 2025.
Yep.
So if they're going to make an X-Men movie with new cast, they have to wait to even start production till 2025. They cannot go ahead. If they're going to do it now, they've got to use either Patrick Stewart or what's his name that played Xavier, and the casting that they used for the other characters, including Hugh Jackman.
Yep. Which I'm all for, but the other ones I think I could live without.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I would love to write an X-Men movie because I know exactly what villains I would use.
Can
you take a guess?
I'd do the Hellfire Club.
You're close. You want to take a guess, Chris?
no, I'd get it wrong. Anybody else?
The Marauders.
What exactly are you asking?
You get to do an X-Men movie. What two villains are you going to use?
What two villains are you going to use?
Why wouldn't you use Hellfire, though? Why wouldn't you use the Hellfire Club? That would be a good one.
I got one better.
And it's not Magneto?
Yes,
I was going to say they've already done Magneto. They've already done Sentinels. Other than that, nobody really cares. That's the only villains they've got.
Come on. This one's going to be good.
Mojo?
No, not Mojo.
Mojo would be too much of a multiverse of madness thing again. It'd have to be that's what I was saying. It would be the Hellfire Gala, but it's just we'll just have them walk on in pretty costumes all over the place.
The only possible villain, if they're even considered a villain, I don't remember his name, but I remember from the X-Men cartoon of the 90s, there was that one character who was served as the janitor at the doorway to time, and then once Apocalypse I guess Apocalypse could be one, but I would think they'd already used him. But the other guy I'm thinking of course, is the guy. Shi'ar, not necessarily.
Because you'd have to be in Phoenix for that one. We're trying to stay out of that mess.
Yeah. Although if they brought in the Starjammer,
I can't remember his name, but he was involved in the Beyond Good and Evil storyline in the X-Men cartoon. He was initially the janitor of the doorway of time, and then he became this villain. Had a helmet that was similar to Apocalypse, not Apocalypse, but Galactus. He had like a headgear or whatever that was similar to Galactus, but he wasn't Galactus.
No, Herrenberg just got it.
Oh, you'd go for Mr. Sinister? The old version, I hope.
And I would add one other person.
Oh, Mr. Sinister, not Mystique.
Well,
We've already done her.
they did hint at Mr. Sinister in one of the last ones.
No, but I'm talking about really do Sinister. I mean,
Yeah.
really do him. What's his greatest creation?
Whose greatest creation? Sinister's?
Uh-huh.
X-Men?
Try again.
Cable?
You're close.
Magdor Pryor, whatever, the Jean Grey double.
Madeline
The
Pryor.
Goblin Queen.
Goblin Queen?
Yeah, Marilyn Pryor. Cable's mother.
You know what I would do before an X-Men movie, and James Gunn is the only one who can do this, is I would work on the next Guardians of the Galaxy movie. If you want to get people talking about X-Men, if you want to get fans excited that X-Men is going to be part of the MCU, you go obscure, at least obscure to normies. You do a Guardians of the Galaxy, you finish their story, you do a post-credit scene of them in space, and they pass and hail the Starjammers.
That would be good, but I got one better.
Go for it.
Okay. Ms. Marvel and Captain Marvel movie, right?
Yes.
Was it coming? How's this for an opening? Captain Marvel is trailing somebody. It's raining. She lands. Somebody jumps on her back, grabs a hold of her. Power surge. She gets knocked out. The person vanishes.
That would pretty much bring it into the Miss Marvel movie pretty quickly, though.
Thor shows up to help Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel's lost some of her memory, lost some of her powers. She has to go figure out what happened. Ms. Marvel, the new Ms. Marvel, gets wrapped up into it. But what happens at the end? They have another villain stuff. But what happens at the end of the movie?
You find Rogue.
There's a knock on the door. The door opens up, and a young man looks down, and a girl's there, pulls the head back, and it's Rogue. She just jacked Ms. Marvel and got her powers.
Yep. That would get people talking, or just do it as a post-credit attack scene. You wouldn't have to make the whole movie.
No. She does it at the first of the movie, but you don't see her to the end of the movie.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You don't see who actually did it until the end of the movie. You don't see Rogue to the very end.
They did make Ms. Marvel a mutant now, and if I'm not incorrect, I have not seen any Disney Plus. I don't subscribe to Disney Plus. I'll see that stuff when it's on DVD. But did they not bring in the Nega bands into the Ms. Marvel continuity at the very end? Remember when Rick, I can't remember his last name now, but Rick was the Captain Marvel. He's the guy who was the Hulk's little sidekick for years. Rick Jones. Thank you. Remember when Rick had the Nega bands and he would just like go, and he would do a Shazam thing. He would change out bodies.
That's how she has her powers. Was she had one of the bands, and then they said, no, she's a mutant now. They couldn't make up her mind in the series.
Well, did they not end the series with Brie Larson standing in her room, having exchanged places with her?
I don't think so.
I haven't watched it yet, so
I have to go back and have to watch it again. But I don't think Brie Larson ever shows up in the series.
I thought that was like the final episode post-credit thing, where
I didn't watch the post-credit. I was like, this thing sucks. So,
well, yeah. But that was supposed to be like the launching for the Marvels, which is why Ms. Marvel and Captain Marvel are going to be together, other than their names, that they Rick Jonesed her.
So I don't know. I mean, it was so bad. Moon Knight was decent, and it has some good stuff, and I like Egyptology and stuff like that. But Captain Marvel, I watched the first one. I was like, going, really? Are you kidding me? I mean, but here's the thing about the X-Men. The X-Men are kids. They're teenagers. They're not full adults. Except for Wolverine, who's 100-something years old. But they're supposed to be teenagers. They're not supposed to be these adult characters.
Yeah, they're supposed to be more like the Umbrella Academy.
At some point, they do become young adults.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm talking about young adults, 15, 16, 17, 18 years old.
Yeah.
They're not,
They were the world's strangest teens.
yeah.
That was how they were billed
Yeah.
in the comics.
Because that's when DC rolled out the Teen Titans to combat with them.
We have confirmation that Brie Larson was in the very end of the Ms. Marvel series, yes, and appears in Kamala's room.
Thank
So
you, Rudenberg.
I knew somebody would have seen it.
Yeah, like I said, I was like,
Robert can't connect to the Guardians, and I'm kind of with you because I'm old, and when I think Guardians of the Galaxy, I'm thinking of Marvel's version of the Legion of Superheroes that took place in the future, and you'd see things like Wolverine's adamantium skeleton on a pedestal somewhere because he eventually does die, letting you know that he does get killed in the future.
I will say this about Guardians of the Galaxy. When I first saw him, I was like going, this should have been Buck Rogers.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm being serious. It should have been Buck Rogers.
Hey, Twiggy.
No, not okay. Tweaky, you can take Tweaky and go take a flying leap with Tweaky. But I'm just saying, they could have done Buck Rogers. I really wish they'd do a Flash Gordon movie and do it right.
Someday. I'd expect to find a boiled bunny in my kitchen. Oh boy, yeah. We love Brie Larson. This is not an anti-Brie Larson channel because we don't need to be.
Yeah, we don't need to get banned.
Oh,
so
well,
You just need to spread around some bread. Brie.
But the thing about this is, and I saw all the movies, and it's funny they have all these people getting hyped about all these shows that are coming out on the 5th and 6th thing, and I'm just sitting here going like, no, don't care. I'm like, what? And the one that got me was Ironheart. Oh, Ironheart's coming.
oh God,
Yeah, whatever.
Nobody cares.
But yeah,
Actually,
video.
I heard. I
everybody's
think I
going bonkers over
saw
all this
something.
stuff.
I think I saw something in one of the articles I read that may not be coming. That one may be getting axed at some point.
Well, they rolled out the titles, so Kevin Feige did. So, and then Kevin Feige makes that big statement. Well, I'm going to hire everybody that was on Batgirl, so they have a job. And I was like, dude, they already got paid. It's called post production. That means they got paid.
Yep.
So,
okay, you can hire them and have a bad movie, and then it'll get canceled too.
they've been having bad movies. I mean, Thor did not do that well. Thor had one weekend where they really did a lot of money, and the next weekend it dropped 49%. And the next week it was at negative. It was down to 82% down.
Yeah, but I thought it was actually a pretty good movie, Thor, the latest one.
I haven't seen it yet. I was like, okay.
I've seen it, and I thought it was pretty good.
Well, I know that Multiverse of Madness just dropped onto DVD, and I'm waiting for that. I saw that the Green Lantern animated thing had dropped to DVD and Blu-ray, and I just checked my HBO Max to see if it's there, and it's not. Kind of surprising. I figured if anything was on, DVD from Warner Brothers, it was already on HBO Max by now.
No, new strategy is it's theatrical, DVD, Blu-ray, and then streaming. So
Okay.
you're gonna have to wait a little while for the streaming to come along. It's better to buy the DVD now than the streaming as it comes along. So
Yeah, you'll probably have to wait about a month.
yeah, pretty much.
RJ, when you say
A little trivia tidbit for you guys that I wanted to share, because I shared this with Rick the other night too. Because we are talking Marvel a little bit here. From the X-Men 90s cartoon, the Alpha Flight episode. Do you guys know who voiced Snowbird in that episode?
I would not have read the credits on that one.
I wasn't paying attention to credits back then.
Melissa Sue Anderson.
Oh, Mary Ingalls.
The same Melissa Sue Anderson who is Mary Ingalls, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of actors, we lost another actor today. The gentleman who flew the helicopter in Magnum PI. He passed away today.
Oh, the black guy.
Yeah.
I know his name.
Yeah.
Jeez.
He passed away. He passed away today.
No, not. I was
He
going
was
to say
83 years old.
Wow.
Well, actually, I recently covered like a week. It'll be 2 weeks ago today. There were like three people, an actor and two actresses who did have some significant stuff in animation, also in some live action, who passed away like about a couple weeks ago in the latter part. David Warner passed away at the age of 80, who provided the voice of Ra's al Ghul in the DCAU Justice League cartoons. Nichelle Nichols, who of course was Lieutenant Uhura from Star Trek and reprised her role in
The Star Trek movies.
Star Trek the animated series. I'm talking more animated credits than anything else. Let's see. Also, she did the voice of Miriam the Vampire Queen in an episode of the Spider-Man the animated series in the 90s, as well as Diane Maza in Gargoyles. And then Pat Carroll, who is most known as the voice of Ursula in the Disney productions, particularly The Little Mermaid.
Yeah. I
saw that one too.
Melissa Sue Anderson did Diana Maza?
No. I was talking about Nichelle Nichols.
Oh, okay.
Nichelle Nichols did Maza.
Melissa Sue Anderson did the voice of Sprite on Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, which, you know, for those not old enough, Kitty Pryde used to have a code name. She didn't keep it very long.
Yeah, she kept it for a few years.
Well, she had a couple of code names. One was Sprite, another one was Shadowcat.
I know her more.
Still known as Shadowcat.
I know her more as Shadowcat than Sprite. Can't say I've ever heard that one for her.
The comic books of when she was Sprite, the one costume is stuck in my head. The one with the roller skates. I was like, who came up with this crazy idea? Remember that one, RJ?
I'm looking for it now.
Yeah, that's the one Magneto almost killed her, and he freaks out because he found out how young she was. But she's she's wearing like rainbow socks and roller skates and stuff. I'm like going, who came up with this outfit?
Sounds like something off of Rainbow Bright or Punky Brewster.
Oh yeah, it's very much Rainbow Bright.
Oh yeah.
Or what about Punky Brewster?
Oh, did you find it, RJ?
I found it.
This is pretty bad. Oh, they were mean to her. Yeah, that's.
Oh, that is horrific.
Yeah, that's the outfit.
Actually, that artwork, that drawing of her, reminds me of a DC character, Mary, the Girl of 1,000 Gimmicks.
Yeah, this is bad. This was so bad.
This is the costume you give to as a hazing for a new X-Men. It's like, okay, here you get to wear Jean's old mask from her second week here, and I bet some of this other stuff is from other characters as well. But
no, this is bad. But there's another issue with her. It's a Christmas issue. Everybody in the mansion went out. Even Professor Xavier went out. So she's the only one in the mansion. She just got out of the shower. She goes down to the fireplace. She's enjoying the evening. And and it looks like an alien from movies Alien. So this came out in the 70s, is chasing her. Basically, the whole comic book is this alien chasing her through the house. And it's a Christmas issue.
I'll have to find
It would
that
appear
one.
we lost Rick.
Rick, come back, Rick.
Oh yeah,
see, I said come back, and he did.
I don't know what happened there.
Yeah,
the page just went blank.
Yeah, they had some.
Here's you disconnected.
Yeah, there's the other one.
Paul Smith.
But
that's Paul Smith art.
Yeah, she wore that for a while.
Well, there she looks more like Doc Ock. At
I'd
least
like to say
that
that's Al
one's
Milgrom, but I don't know who that is. But it's not Paul Smith.
No, that's not Paul. I mean, like I said, I've got these issues.
That looks
So,
like John Byrne, actually, but
It might be. He might have been playing with her.
But she wore this for a long time.
I absolutely adored Paul Smith's X-Men. His run went way too short.
it's yeah, everybody was on roller skates in the 80s. Yes, Rocket Racer.
I don't think that book was in the 80s. That was like a 79 or 78.
Was it inspired by the Dazzler?
Yes, yes. Oh,
Yeah, but that looked a whole lot better. I mean, yeah, I know she's in roller skates, but she just looked a whole lot better.
She had that open-breasted, heavy cleavage jumpsuit.
Yeah, and the Farrah Fawcett hair.
Yep.
Yeah, and then later on in the 80s, when she got with Longshot, she went with a short hair and a blue outfit.
Yeah, I did not care for that at all. I still think I'm gonna. It won't ever appear in a book because there won't ever be a thing big enough to require it. So I'll have to fan cast this thing at a convention sometime. Say, hey, can you draw me this? But basically, the Black Bolt shouting at Dazzler, who's converting. And I don't know what would be the big. It would have to be like igniting Galactus or something. But
yeah,
I mean, if she converts sound waves to sound waves to light, and the more sound waves she has, the more light and fire she produces.
Oh, Black Bolt be
Black Bolt will really light her up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it would be like a combo thing. And I don't know if DC, if Marvel's got anybody who converts light into something else, but then we could just light into mass.
Daisy chain them.
Yeah, I convert light into mass. Great, we're going to create a planet.
Yeah.
Black Bolt, Dazzler, and you create mass out of all this light, and all right, guys, we're rambling now, and I think we've talked over all our talking points. So,
what about Jubilee? Doesn't she convert?
She just throws out sparklers. That's all she's ever done.
Phases through wall still, right?
Now I will say this:
Jubilee, no, but Kitty Pryde does. Yes.
The run that Claremont did with Silvestri on X-Men, he was notorious for one thing and one thing only: blowing Rogue's clothes off. If you go and read those, especially when they're in the Savage, the Outback and everything like that, every time she got in a fight, her clothes got blown off.
Yeah, well,
and then there's the ultimate 2-page spread that I'm still looking for. That I don't care how much it costs, I'm going to end up buying them. It's the double-page spread of Rogue in 269, where she ain't got no clothes on. And it's a double page.
You're looking for the original art?
Jim Lee drew. And she has nothing on in that picture.
We know where James's mind is at.
Dude, it was fantastic.
Of course it was.
Yeah, that was like the series first X-Men book I ever bought.
Well,
opened up, I was like, okay, I'm gonna take this home.
Tell us what's going on this week, James. You got some announcements.
Oh yeah. Hold on, I'll show you the screen. Let's see, where's that right here? This week, I believe it's going to be Thursday. This book will be coming out. I want to say Thursday or Friday. So look for it. My new book, The Steins 3.
You have to say that subtitle because we can't.
Balaclava.
Where did I've seen a cartoon of this or something somewhere recently?
Yeah,
like at the beginning of this show.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, but it's coming out this week. I will have it at the convention, so I'll have the books there. Hardback. It'll be hardback, paperback, and digital. So you'll be able to get on Kindle, iTunes, Google, you name it. It'll be there. So that'll be coming out this week.
Cool.
Looking forward to it. With my third book, so hopefully it does just as well as the other two. Because the other two have done really good. The video says 25,000, but actually we're close to 30,000 now. So I'm very happy.
All right. So, Mike, what's coming up on your channel this week?
Well, Monday to Thursday, of course, our continuing, newscast coverage of all things niche, anime, cartoons, comics, manga, pro wrestling, latest and news from across the niche world. And on Friday, and RJ, you know this because you'll be joining me.
Yes, I will be.
Our look through April of 1939. This week, focusing on Centaur Comics, which we'll probably be reading from Amazing Mystery Funnies, as well as a little work from Keen Detective Funnies as well, and a little kind of quickie look at Star Ranger Funnies. The two main features we'll be looking at, of course, Skyrocket Steel from Bill Everett, who within a year from this point would bring us Amazing Man. And then also Air Sub 68. And over the next few weeks, of course, RJ will be here this Friday as well as the 26th. Got Chris and Diane for the 19th as my co-host. And Rick will be joining me on September 2nd at this point for co-hosting. So I look forward to having you guys on and getting into the cons, looking back at some of the classics and learning more and more about, and just watching a lot of these comic worlds, watching their worlds develop before our eyes.
Absolutely. It's fun to read comics, and it's fun to have history. And James, is that your book?
Oh,
yep, that's it.
RJ, did you also want to plug the other thing you were thinking that you were doing? That you started from, that you got the idea from our coverage of the clock. You want to tell everybody about that?
I am part of an anthology. I will be writing my first comic book story. The anthology itself is not announced yet, so it's going to be basically all public domain characters written and drawn by different people, and I am doing a 6-page story on the clock. So
cool.
The world's first masked non-superhero, predating Batman, just a guy in a mask in comics.
And RJ, do you want to tell them what many people on my channel call the clock?
Captain Napkin Face, and I'm going to use that in the book. In the story, he will get called Captain Napkin Face because his original mask was kind of like one of the Green Hornet ones. It was just like he tucked it up in his hat, and there were eye holes cut in a black napkin, which I would think would just flap and fly all over the place. Which is going to maybe be a story point. We'll see. Chris, what's going on in your world?
Well, like I said, we're selling The Great Cyclopean #4 on HeroShack.com. Working on a release for Halloween and one for Christmas. That's the basic game plan over the summer. So Wednesday, I'll probably have a new promo video for The Great Cyclopean 4, and then we'll be looking at promoting it a little because, like I said, we're not doing a Kickstarter or an Indiegogo this time. And that's just pretty much to see how much that affects online sales, because the promotion itself with a crowdfunder kind of forces you to market in ways that you don't if you just release direct to websites. So we're going to try doing some stuff. Diana will probably throw money into advertising. If she does, I hope it doesn't spam anybody's social media, and we'll see what happens. But we had a great launch of the book, and it sold out, like I said, at the convention at the Terrificon. So that was a great feeling. Yeah. So that's about it. That's not much going on. Just relaxing, enjoying the summer, and creating.
All right. Well, bring it over here when it's ready to go. We'll take a look at that.
Yeah.
All right. Rick?
Well, it's already ready to go for him. He's just got to come over here and do it.
I got to come over here with some promotional video, though. He likes those 15-second quickies.
Yes, I need one of those.
He was.
Well, me, I'm hopefully gonna start doing some more regular live streams. But if not, I will be doing some short videos for my channel. Coloring up some fan art and stuff like that, making it into videos, and trying to get on shows to promote the Canadian Shield #2 and more, because I'd like to really bump up my sales on that, because I'd like to be able to pay for the artistry of the next books beforehand.
That's always the dream.
Well, you should make sure you hit up RJ. I'm sure RJ will be glad to give you an hour or so to give you a chance to push your book, right, RJ?
Always. Oh, that's what we exist for.
Yeah, well, I know I've been on here once, so
I catch so many creators I'd never see at all, just shooting the crap at you on your show, and you're just talking about their book, and it goes for an hour or so.
Yeah.
And sometimes sometimes I just learn something, but it's always a good show.
Right before my show, in fact.
Well, the only reason I say it like that is because he brings to us creators that I otherwise would never get a chance to meet. The creators you cover are mostly dead.
It's true.
Well, I mean, but what I do, of course, is I'm trying to help remind people why they got interested in comics in the first place by going back and looking how those comic universes developed over time. That's why I do it the way I do it. But RJ has even mentioned this on his show before, where usually when you would ask somebody, or when when somebody would ask you where they should start, you usually tell them something like Frank Miller's The Dark Knight or whatever. But he points out that I went actually all the way back to the very beginning, 1933, and just worked my way forward. And because and I like doing those deep dives and really just trying to present how these comic book worlds, how they developed over time, and how I mean, I don't know. Have you guys ever imagined what it might be like if, let's say, Access was to suddenly show up at your doorstep or whatever and say, "Okay, here's a portal. What's your favorite comic? What's your favorite comic book universe? Would you like to go there and hang out with some of your favorite superheroes?" Okay, so
I plead the fifth.
I don't expect an answer. I was just giving a little bit more detailed explanation of what I.
So I would go, but I would plead the fifth and not let them know where I was going.
Yeah, but it would depend if the Comics Code Authority is in enforcement, because there are different places I would go if the Comics Code is thrown out, but I don't want to go if it's there.
Well, let's
presumably it would be obviously, either present day or maybe, because obviously, like, for example, DC, there's different segments. There's like the multiverse of pre-crisis, and then there's post-crisis, and then there's, so.
This crisis and that crisis and another crisis.
So you just opened up the biggest can of worms ever, because you're just talking DC and Marvel, and when you said any superhero universe,
well, those are the ones I'm most familiar with, James. I mean, I know there are people. There are probably
no. I'm thinking of some stuff out of Japan.
Did Penthouse publish comics?
Yes, they did.
Yes, they did.
And they had some
and
good
they were
ones.
very good.
They did. Yeah, they actually rivaled heavy metal for a while. There was some really. Penthouse had some really good comics. They had
Hurricane. I remember Hurricane.
They had some really good artists too.
Yeah, they did. I mean, they had some of the top-notch artists of the time who were just kind of cutting loose in what. Thank you. That was the title I can remember. Ms. Adventure. Adam Hughes was doing Ms. Adventure and Hurricane. Yeah. And if anybody was going to know about this, Harrowenberg was going to know about this. This is his wheelhouse right here. I mean, just let me spend a weekend with Cherry Pop-Tart if we're going to, jump into comic book universes.
I mean, I'm sure there are some fans out there who probably want to spend some time on whatever you want to call it, whether it be Paradise Island or Themyscira or anything like that. For
Oh, well, yeah.
No, I'm not going to Themyscira, man. They're going to scare me and
They'll kill you.
No, I'm going where I know I'm going to be enjoying life.
Yeah, throw me into a harem manga.
Very much.
You just gotta hope that they will do in that hair manga what they do for the normal character.
No, you're taking the place of the normal character. That's the whole point.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
I actually just read a news article, another news article the other day about a kind of a profile piece on a harem manga anime, the quintessential quintuplets. That one was pretty interesting to go.
I saw that one. I'm not sure what it's about yet.
You saw my report on it?
No, I saw the news on it. I've seen. Well, maybe I saw your report on it. I saw it somewhere. And you're probably the only place I would have seen anime stuff because I don't just go looking for it.
I think the one, if I had to choose, would have to be How Not to Summon a Demon Lord. That would be the one I would probably pick.
I love the titles of manga. They're just.
Some of them gotten more complicated or longer.
You would love this one, Archie. You really would, because the main character is the Demon Lord, and he's a gamer that was summoned to an alternate world, and his character is this Demon Lord, and he ends up with like 6 or 7 really hot chicks.
Yeah, but I mean, just the titles, like, you know, my roommate is paranoid. You know, Comey can't communicate. Like you just throw a sentence out there pulled from Scrabble tiles, and it's a manga title.
The Yakuza's Guide to Babysitting.
Yes,
that's actually a real manga, and it's now an anime.
I know. That time I got reincarnated as a slime.
Yes,
that one is actually really good.
Oh, speaking of anime, and I was just on HBO Max, you know, looking at stuff. Belle is now out there. If you have not seen it yet, you know, you told us how good it was. So
it is a fantastic movie. Only thing bad about it being on HBO Max is the English version, and the Japanese version, when she sings, the music is so much more because the music's written in Japanese. So when it's translated, the words can be a little bit, you know what I'm saying? It's not as good.
Well, I know that from just reading the subtitles of most anime theme songs, because I'm like listening to the music. I'm like, I'm really into this music, but there is no way that these English words mean anything to me.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, I mean, the actors that are in the English version do a really good job. It's just when it comes to the music, it's not as good as the Japanese version.
Doesn't translate as well.
Yeah.
Well, everybody go check that out tonight. Arthur Sidam was at Terrificon. His original, yeah. Oh, so you know who was not at Terrificon then was Mark Waid. They don't get along at all, and it's no secret. Let's wrap it up, guys. We've already gone around, said who's who's doing what. So everybody go check out that stuff. Links are below to all these projects. Folks in the chat, appreciate you being here, sitting around listening to us chew the fat for a while. We don't have a show without you being here. So as always, we're glad you were here, and we just hope you had a blast. Good night.
Good night.